Hey, so I just want to have a quick word with you viewers, then you could go on your very way to watching this video. So first of all, I just really want to give my appreciation to you guys. Everyone who's watched my videos, everyone who's seen all my videos, really, thank you. At this point, I might, at this rate, I might full-time wave defense, but of course, I still plan to experiment a little bit, so don't really, expect full-on Roblox wave defense stuff, you know. Content's a little dry on my end, so that's why I've been pumping out a lot of this stuff. Yeah, not really sure if I should commit to this or not, but that's a me thing. And second of all, I'm gonna go a little bit in depth into my personal life for you guys. I'm a university student, and with it being August and all, that means my next year in uni is gonna be starting pretty soon, so I just want to let you guys know that videos are going to be pumped out a little slower than usual. I know last time I uploaded was like a month-ish ago, but that's besides the point because I'm still new. Thank you. So nonetheless, videos are going to be pumped out at a slower rate than before, and this means that most content that I have planned is going to progress at an even slower rate. That's all I really have to say. Enjoy the video, and thanks for watching. Can you parry that? Question mark. In this segment, I'm just raising the question, can I parry that, and putting it to the test. It's a fairly simple concept, I think. Now, I won't be doing any like obvious, hey, this guy's yellow, can I parry that? Or hey, this guy's red, I think I could parry that. Instead, I'll be doing some like unusual things, like parrying things that you would usually run from and taking it head on, full force, straight, no fear, parrying through that attack. Right, so for our first contestant today, we have Undarilam with the scary move Blade Barrage. It has the potential to deal damn near 400 stacks of bleed onto a single target. I'm pretty sure the blades themselves will likely kill you before the bleed gets to you, since each blade deals a whopping 1.5 true damage. See, that doesn't sound like a lot until you see how many swords he throws at you. He absolutely shreds your health bar. So that also means that those shield mains out there who love to tank, those tank mains out there, tanky builds, you can't really block all of that since each sword does true damage, so he will absolutely shred your health. Okay. Enough with the talk session, enough with the info dump. Now's for the moment you've all been waiting for. Undarilam, Blade Barrage. Me? Can I parry it? Okay, yeah, no, I'm joking with you guys. I did try again. Yeah. So it's a little hard to fully parry everything, but for the most part, I did get past that. I did get past them. Now, is it totally possible to fully parry everything? Probably not. Probably. Maybe. Hard. I'm gonna leave it at a hard maybe for now, cause trying to go through Slime Cave is kind of a pain in my butt. So we're just gonna leave it at a hard maybe. So can I parry it? We're leaving it a hard maybe. I'm gonna come back to this. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you did see that right. There is another way to avoid enemy attacks, and that's by simply jumping on their head. For most enemies, a lot of their hitboxes don't actually extend over their head, so by jumping on their head, you can actually completely avoid about 95% of all of the attacks that are in the game from enemies. Or actually, maybe not 95, maybe 80-ish, including a lot of red attacks. For the most part, you can avoid a lot of enemy attacks out there. For example, some enemies that you can't avoid is Artrasia's red and yellow attacks, but you can't avoid her M1s, so keep that in mind. Alestara's Lantern Slam and Orbs, since they're projectiles, they kind of just home at you, so obviously you can't avoid that. Maelstrom, I don't know why, but I think his sword hitbox is kind of wonky at times. So it's a little 50-50 sometimes. So sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. I really wouldn't try it. Visco's downward slash, warping slash, and consecutive cuts. You cannot avoid that by jumping. Priscilla's dashing slash is 100% no-no because he kind of just like teleports you. So it's a definite no. Luiska's choke slam, blizzard, and aerial kick are all things that I am absolutely 99% sure you can't avoid. You could try it for yourself, but it's kind of hard to do. I mean, I'm 99% sure you can't do it. And lastly, Jace's ground smash and leaping slam. As for all the other moves, I'm 80% sure that you could avoid it, except for projectile based moves. Obviously you can't avoid projectiles when you're standing on their head, so that cuts off a lot of extra potential targets. And since we are on the topic of avoiding enemies, might I add, you can avoid ranged enemies' melee attacks extremely easily. Let me show you. And you may be thinking to yourself, why do I need to know this? Well, going based off of the way the Ranger's melee hitbox works, if you stand at the very edge of the hitbox, you could pull off some really stupid stuff like this. Absolutely zero parrying or dodging required. Just walk back and forth outside of their hitbox, so they can't necessarily hit me, but they're stuck trying to melee me. it's fun. And please do note that enemies like the Man-Eater and the Leafling Spitter in Overgrown Cavern, they both use the same type of movement or body movement proportion things. So it is going to be a little harder to use this on them. Or at least I found it a little harder to use it on them. Because for some reason, they have more reach than the other ranged enemies. Or maybe it's because I was using the scimitar, I don't know. But I found it a little harder to just stand there and then make it so then they just keep hitting air. So be a little wary when trying to do this with those two enemies, because they have like extended hitboxes, I think. But you know, I don't know. I found it a little harder to do it. Can you parry that? Welcome back. Alright folks, welcome back to another bit of Can You Parry It? Our next contestant is going to be in Courtyard, and it's going to be the notorious newbie killer. People rave about this enemy's weapon, and people get lucky, some people don't get lucky. Maybe you got it in 20 kills, maybe you took 500 kills to get this weapon. Who knows? Well, enough about that. Holy Flamethrower. You would usually run away from this enemy, but now I will be charging straight in and parrying that Holy Flame Blast. I might get some scratches, I might be a little bit burnt, but besides the point, this is for what these god awful enemies have done to me in the past. I have a long history with these enemies, let me tell you. Okay, now it's about time that I've learned how to parry these guys. There we go. Okay, so first try. Can I parry it? Yes. Also, these guys. Thank you very much. We're done with this bit. I'm not continuing on with this anymore. Get this Holy Flamethrower out of my face. Get him away from me. Grappling hook. It pairs so well with mobility weapons. Any instantaneous mobility weapons, it pairs oh so amazing with it. Because of how grappling hook works similar to Trapper's chain throw, any momentum that you use during a skill, it will make the enemy gravitate towards your character model for a couple seconds. Which is why, as you've seen, dual swords is absolutely phenomenal to use with grappling hook. End of case. In the latest update of Wave Defense Overdrive, Herix has actually added something completely different, completely new, and that's the accessory, the Repel Buckler. And in the words of our Trello here, it says that parries deal more knockback, stun for longer, and send enemies in the direction you are facing. Now, that's not everything that it does. It does actually do one more thing that it doesn't necessarily state. That being able to stun resistant enemies such as the Croto and the slime, the big slime by the way, from Slime Cave in one parry. Thing is, it doesn't add that extra stun time to their stun counter, however, it does allow you to stun them in one parry. Now, I don't really know if this is going to be useful in the near future, but do keep in mind that this accessory does stun resistant enemies, except for enemies that can parry. See, I tried this against a Froskin soldier and those Tri-Blade Marauders, and they don't get stunned after you parry them. So far, the only enemies that do get stunned are the Slimes and the Crotos. Not too sure how this is going to affect the future enemies of this game, but that's how this accessory works as for now. And again, since we're on the topic of parrying, I do want to give out one tip for you guys who kind of understand the base mechanics of how parrying works. So when you parry, enemies usually launch in the opposite direction of where your body is. Say for example, if I was in the middle and there was an enemy to my left, like this leafling spitter, and I parried them, they would fly off to the left of my character. Now, if you jump and parry an enemy, that means the enemy will go down towards the ground and crumple to the ground. This way, the enemy will be closer to you and it'll be easier to do consecutive parries. That's all I have to say. Thank you. In my opinion, Parry Dagger has to be one of the more niche things in this game. Mainly because it has a very limited use factor. Let's say use factor. Because if you're decent to good to the game, you won't really use Parry Dagger, since for the most part, there are better skills at your disposal. But at the same time, if you do use Parry Dagger, if you're on mouse and keyboard or mobile, you have to reach an extra length just to reach that X button or that other extra button just to use your skill. Now, the reason why I'm calling this skill niche is because not a lot of people use their skills or like keep in mind that their skill is there, since they're mainly using their weapon abilities. Like even I sometimes forget that I have a skill. And I'd like to remind everyone that this is my own opinion, like my own personal opinion. Like sure, you could debate it with me, but like don't get angry at me over what I'm saying, please. But to get back to the main point here, Parry Dagger paired with any charge or blocking weapons might be an amazing thing. Now, I'm not too sure why this works this way, but I think it's similar to the Bone Greatsword Parry Invulnerable M1 thing. So, with Bone Greatsword, if you go into your phase and then parry, you can use skills and even M1 while being invulnerable. As far as I've seen, you won't get banned by using this method. And to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen anyone get banned using a bug in the game. So keep that secret between us. Okay. So going back to the Parry Dagger, if you use any charge move or blocking move and then use a Parry Dagger right after, then you will be automatically canceled out from that charge attack. Meaning that you could use your skills, you could use your parry, you could use your dashes, whatever. You could use whatever you want, whenever you want now. But you can still use that charge attack. So you're basically holding that charge attack while you play the game. The only negative thing about this is that you lose walk speed. So while you're charging it, you're just kind of screwed. Like you're a little screwed. Okay, so now I'm going to just go over all of the charge moves that you can negate with Parry Dagger. So first of all, we have Claws, Metal Claws, and then we have Maul, Plague Bearer, Shield, Frostbane, and Bone Greatsword Mark II. Oh, and also we have Sword and Shield, but it's kind of irrelevant because it's practically useless. Block is pretty short, and you could parry during block, but you could already attack during block anyways. But it's great to know that it works. There may be some weapons that I might have missed, but through my testing, these are like the main ones that I've seen that works. Like Corroder, absolutely doesn't work. I've tested that, does not work. Holy Wand does not work. You can't use Parry Dagger while trying to do area heal. As for the other weapons, I am 99% sure that Parry Dagger doesn't work in this specific way with those weapons. Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with Can You Parry That for our third session today. And today we have a very special contestant. It's actually a boss from Courtyard. You see, Priscilla, he's very known for being a really easy boss. And today we're looking to parry Priscilla's Moonlight Volley. In short, he just kind of does like a spin and sends slashes everywhere. But if you analyze it very closely, when he faces you, he does 4 slashes in your general direction. So then depending on what distance you stand at, you should theoretically be able to parry through his slashes. And without further ado, can we parry this? We're about to find out. And I would like to know, this is very possible to do consistently. If you stand at a certain distance from Priscilla, then that'll guarantee you to be able to parry everything that he throws at you. Thing is, from how I practice it, you have to walk towards the slashes rather than standing still. It's much easier doing that. And depending on your speed will also vary on how far or how close you have to stand from him. And again, it may not be reliably consistent, but for the most part, just know that you can parry this. So, can I parry that? Absolutely. Oh boy, oh boy. Do I have something for you viewers for this segment. I'm going to be showing all of you guys my most favorite weapon combinations by far. And when I say combinations, I guess you could classify it as a tech. I don't know. I'm not good with words, but these are my most favorite weapon skill combinations to use. And I don't really see people use this very much in public servers, so I just felt the need to show you guys and share with you my knowledge with these weapons. So first up, we have Iron Gauntlets. I figured out that if you use the barrage and sweeping kick at the same time, you could basically move stack both of those moves. It gives you the benefit of the sweeping kick's iframes and the benefit of the barrage's barrage. So I'm gonna slow it down for you guys just a tad bit more. So if you look down here at my hotbar, you can see that I use barrage and then I use sweeping kick. So if you use barrage and then sweeping kick a little later than usual, then you won't proc the move. So it has to be a consecutive barrage then sweeping kick at nearly the same time. But at the same time, you don't want to hit sweeping kick before barrage because you'll screw up the move. Alright, so now we got the Alestara. This by far has to be one of my most favorite weapons in the game that comes from a boss. I don't care about dual swords, I don't care about Corruptor. Corruptor is overrated. Alestara, it's sitting up there on my top 5 list. And by using this weapon every now and then, I have found two things about this. The Flaming Dash synergizes with the slash and crash extremely well. Extraordinarily well that you could basically move stack. And the other thing being my love for this weapon. I love mobility weapons that give me high aggressiveness and completely makes me go in and try and kill things quickly. But enough about that, let's get into the actual weapon combo now. So starting off with the first one, in order to get the slash to dash combo off, you need to distance yourself to a normal dash's distance. See, if you don't distance yourself to a normal dash's distance, then you're gonna completely whiff the move. And one more thing, this does look really flashy, but there isn't genuine use to mastering this technique. When you land this move, the dash's circular slash actually knocks the enemy towards the ground. So you can combo that into a crash as well. How to do this? Well, on paper it sounds extremely simple to explain, but when you actually try it, you might whiff a lot of your attempts. So what you want to do is hit dash and then slash right after, and then you hold M1. And this is the reason why you have to be in dashing distance, because that flaming dash and your normal dash go around the same distance. So you really want to hit the enemy at the edge of your dash. And if you don't, then it's going to send the enemy up into the air. And depending on where and how you use it, you might be screwed. And on the other side of the spectrum, comboing dash into a crash is the exact same concept, except you don't have to worry about your dashes. This being because the crash actually has your dashing distance. So when you're trying to do this combo, do keep that in mind. And in this corner, we have LIghtshine Daggers. This is actually one of the more funnier ones, with close to no use. See, if you roll and use LIghtshine Phase 2 times, you'll be teleported upwards for some reason. So being buffed by speed actually teleports you even farther with regular LIghtshine Phase. So by doing this with this method, you actually get launched upwards. And with the Dark Swamp Lilies, you go even farther. If you had a whole team that dedicated to buffing this LIghtshine Dagger user, maybe they could hit the map's roof, but I don't know. This is a fun little thing that I found. And next up we have Soulreaver. Thing is, I accidentally found this tech a couple days after the initial release of the Soulreaver. I don't have it recorded, so I can't give actual proof, but then it was an accident, so I don't know. Although I do really love this weapon. On release, it was a little underpowered, but with the buff that came out with it, really helped out where it lacked. Although it's still a little unreliable sometimes, it is definitely a great weapon. Okay, so basically what the tech here is, when you use Soul Cutter, there's this small window of opportunity where you could parry M1 or use skills during the end of Soul Cutter. So you have the walk speed boost while you're able to do anything. However, it is a small window of opportunity. But if you pair this with Soul Steal, then you'll get the benefit of Soul Cutter's damage and Soul Steal's damage, along with Soul Steal's healing factor. Well, my viewers, I definitely have something for you guys. This has to be one of the most fun things that I've found in a while. See, while I was messing around with Grappling Hook, it was by pure chance that I thought of this, okay? So, we all know about trap surfing, right? Ragdoll surfing. If you grab an enemy with chain throw with the trapper, and then turn your body, you could surf on the enemy's body and go places. But what I found is basically the inverse of trap surfing. It's more like slingshotting rather than surfing. Because of how evasive maneuver works, the more speed you have, the farther you go. So by using trapper and using chain throw on a non-sturdy enemy, you can essentially fling an enemy. Anyways, that's all I really want to share with you guys. Please use this for yourself. This is really amazing. And welcome back to Can You Parry That? And thank you for joining me on the last session of Can You Parry That? I'm gonna keep this real short, sweet, and simple with you guys. For our finale, our final contestant will be Jace from Bandit Hideout. What I will be attempting to parry today is Jace's ground smash. So basically he stands there for a couple seconds, glows red, and smashes his axes into the ground 3 times. Now, it doesn't look too bad, but I'm not all talk, so let's get to parrying now, shall we? So in fact, yes, he is most definitely able to be parried. That move's timing is so similar to Artrasia's flaming stationary spin, it's kinda crazy. I will give you guys more footage here, but I kind of, I accidentally killed him. I didn't think I'd do that much damage, so whoops.